Wind Rises seems to be the perfect culmination of Hayao Miyazaki's career to date. It's about the corruption and beauty/innocence, it has themes of family, and of course, it's about planes. Apart from the fact that it has no strong central female protagonist, it seems to be all of Miyazaki's favourite themes jammed into one film. I was one of the people to cry out in anguish at the announcement of Miyazaki's retirement last year. The man ranks in my favourite directors of all time, and Studio Ghibli is one of the best animation studios of all time. So obviously, The Wind Rises has a lot to live up to, considering its proclamation of being Miyazaki's magnum opus. The film is essentially a loose biopic of wartime play designer Jiro Horikoshi going through his life as a designer and highly fictionalizing everything. It's nigh on impossible to do a plot synopsis of The Wind Rises because of what it has is less a plot and more of a series of events that happen to a person. There's nothing wrong with that, mind, that's just how some of my favourite films have gone. But the only problem is if you're going to go with that, you need to have a damn interesting person at the centre of it, and sadly that's the main area where The Wind Rises is lacking. I find myself frustrated with the film as it's one of those movies I want to like a hell of a lot more than I actually do. It's Miyazaki, automatic plus, the animation is beyond beautiful, again another automatic plus, and it's got all the things Miyazaki knows how to do best. So what's the problem here? Why can I not get into it like everyone else seems to be able to? Like with other films that focus on character rather than story, I find my attention waning if I don't find that character interesting, and Jiro is such a fucking boring character! His emotions never go beyond elation or surprise, and I barely know anything about him beyond he likes to build planes. Whoop-de-fucking-do, movie, can you please give me a reason why I should invest 2 hours of my time into this man? Jiro is depicted as simply having no flaws, which is an instant doom for any character. He's a complete and utter Mary Sue, and honestly I expected better from Miyazaki, someone who in the past inhabited his amazing worlds with memorable and well-written characters, but here even the side people don't get much development or growth. They're just sort of there. Now this isn't to say that I think The Wind Rises is a bad movie, because it isn't. The animation and visuals are the best they've ever been for Miyazaki and Ghibli, and some of the shots are simply breathtaking. Not to mention the last scene, which is probably the most poignant and affecting scene in the entire film, bringing to the forefront all the bittersweet themes that the film should have been exploring earlier, but nonetheless is a great scene for the film and Miyazaki's career to finish on. Of course, we say this is Miyazaki's final film, but he's retired and then come back several times before, but there is something about The Wind Rises that makes it feel like a final sayonara. It comes across as his most ambitious and personal film, and yet also his most self-indulgent. The sheer amount of focus on the planes leave little time to develop the person making them, and it feels like Miyazaki is using Jiro as a surrogate for his own love for aviation. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, it's just because of that Jiro comes across as a support for his actions when it should be the other way around. Honestly, I'm struggling to come up with things to say about The Wind Rises as it left that little of an impression on me. I guess this is just yet another film to add to the list of character-based films that other people seem to really get into, and I just couldn't for whatever reason. It's frustrating because I'm conflicted between my honesty as a critic and my love for Miyazaki, as it's affected my love for film and my taste in general, and that I feel impossibly sad not to enjoy his final film, but at the end of the day I have to be honest and say that I really find myself quite bored while watching The Wind Rises. Less of a final swan song and more of an amazing 40-year-long flight that soars and then splutters towards a disappointing and clumsy conclusion.